I'm Asia from the Relationship Refinery, here to help you redefine and refine the way that you view relationships. This is Money Matters, the Real Root of Relational Ruin, Part 5. If you haven't already checked out Parts 1 through 4, please make sure you go ahead and do that now. And if you're not a subscriber, of course, make sure that you subscribe. And if you are a subscriber, thank you so much for being a subscriber. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. So once again, this is part 5 of Money Matters, the Real Root of Relational Ruin, where I am addressing the relational aspect of finances and how you can make more money, but if you don't address these issues, then you can still have a negative relationship. In the first video, I talked about the difference between fruit and root. Fruit is often, getting a divorce, things like that. Or we don't have enough money, so we're getting a divorce, or we're growing apart because we're not making enough money, or one person is making more money than the other person, when the issues that I've been talking about have been the root of those issues. So, one of the things I talked about was pride and inability to communicate when it comes to finances. Well, today I'm talking about the inability to stick to a budget, or going over the means, or living above your means. I understand we do live in a society where it's difficult to budget. Some of us don't even make enough money to where we can budget, and I can speak from experience. When I first graduated from college, or when I first graduated from grad school, it was difficult to find a job when I didn't have my licensure yet, my provisional license yet, and so it was difficult for me to make money. I was driving for Uber Eats, working an online job. That was towards the end of it, but working an online job, and just was not making enough money to really even stick to a budget. I tried to put this much money in a savings account and use this much money towards bills, and this much money for fun, but I just wasn't making enough to even pay bills, to even have fun, to even put enough in a savings account. And so if you are someone who can relate to that, like I said, I understand that things are just not set up for us. Like, rent and everything is increasing, but pay is staying the same, and for some people it's even decreasing. And if it's increasing, if it has increased for you, it still probably isn't enough for you to pay your bills and save and have fun comfortably. So you're having to make sacrifices and figure out what to do. I get all that. But if you are in a marriage, once again, two becoming one, which means your finances have become one as well. Even if y'all have two separate accounts, your money is still one. If you don't stick to a budget, or if it's difficult for you to stick to a budget, that can negatively affect the relationship. Because of course, if you have one person that's like, hey, we are only spending 20% of our finances, 30% of our finances on fun, on going to concerts, on going out to eat, on pleasurable things, fun things, and the other person is still spending 50-60% of the household income on those things, then there's going to be a disconnect there, right? Because we're trying to save up for this, or you're spending bill money on vacations, or spending bill money to get your hair done, or you're spending bill money on car parts and things like that, to upgrade your car, whatever that looks like in your situation. Then that's going to cause a rift between the two people, right? And so this part is difficult for me to address because, once again, I am not a financial advisor. I can't tell you what to do financially. And I know a lot of people are like, well, you got to have side hustles, and you got to have this side hustle that pays for your fun, and then and all that. I get that. That sounds cute until you start really thinking about that. Side hustles take up a lot of time, a lot of money up front, a lot of energy, and then that can also lead to you disconnecting from your partner, which I talked about in I believe it was part 3. Yeah, part 3 when I talked about work. It was part 2. Either way, if you've been watching, it was part 2. Which part I talked about when it comes to balancing your work and at home life. But when it comes to having side hustles, it's important for you to still connect with your partner. But at the same time, honestly, we were not meant to work 20 hours out of the 24 hours of the day. A 9 to 5 is great, and unfortunately, once again, we just don't live in a society. A lot of us don't live in a society where working 9 to 5 can truly help you pay for all your bills. So, pushing all that to the side, I'm not telling you to just make do with what you got. But what I am saying is, if the two of you can't come together and decide on a budget together and compromise, if one person's like, well, I think we should spend 30% on fun things, and you're saying, well, I think 20%. Can y'all not meet in the middle, go 25? You know, don't just say this is my money and this is my thing, because the two once again have become one. This is y'all's money. So really discuss how much money can y'all actually save, how much money can y'all actually spend on fun things, and how much money needs to go, or percentage or whatever, can go to the bills. Then of course I want you to think about, who are you really living for? We live in a day of social media to where some of us, not all, but some of us, we aspire to live life like that person on the other side of the screen that we watch religiously. And that can negatively affect our relationship, because now we don't want to stick to the budget. Now we want the more lavish things in life, and it's not really because we want them, but because we want to post about them, or because we want it to seem like we're going to these expensive places and that our lives is just amazing. The truth of the matter is, it's not, and that's okay. That's okay, because you can have fun and you can enjoy life right where you're at. So are you living for the Lord, or are you living for social media? Something to think about. And then if you feel like you're trying to live for the Lord, pray and ask Him to reveal to you, what does it mean to live for Him? At this level that you're currently at, you can pray, God, how can I elevate from where I'm at? But then also ask Him, what are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to get from me while I'm here? Pray and ask the Lord to reveal your heart and where your heart should be. Matthew 6:21 says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So where are you wanting to spend your money? Is it to impress other people, or is it to do for the Lord? You might consider going to therapy, because therapy can help you once again to work on your relationship with money, as well as to help you to work on your self-esteem and validation needs. Because some of us, money for us, having a certain amount of money in our bank account, wearing a certain brand of clothing, being able to shop here, being able to do this, really validates our self-esteem, really validates us and boosts our self-esteem, makes us feel like, we are that woman or that man, when the Lord wants us to feel like that woman and that man in Him, not in money. And so yeah, sometimes God will limit the amount of money that you make, because He knows that if you made more, you would leave Him. So that's something also to really think about and assess. Is money your God? Is that your idol? Of course, I strongly recommend giving your 10% to the church, to your church. And I get it. I know some people, y'all clinched up like, I'm not even gonna do that, because churches don't even be spending the money wisely. That's some churches. There are still a lot of churches that are very transparent about the way that they spend their money, and that you can see where your money is going. Like, you can see the improvements, and you can see how they're helping out in the community and things like that. So, and you might not be there yet in your walk with the Lord. You might not be there, but be open to getting there. And you may feel like, well, I don't even make enough money to get 10%. And I want to strongly encourage you, once again, going back to that time when I was driving for Uber Eats, I was not making a lot of money, okay? Not a lot of money at all. Like, honestly, I was spending about half, if not a third, between a third and a half of that money on gas that I was making every day. Crazy. But anyway, but I still faithfully gave my 10%. Every time I got paid, before I spent a dime, I would give my 10% to the Lord, to the church. And when I tell you, that same summer that I graduated, I went to 5 different states and didn't pay much, because I went with different people, and majority of them paid for stuff for me. So the Lord will find a way. When you honor Him, when you put Him first, He finds a way to put you first as well. So He blessed me with friends and family members who loved me and was like, hey, I want you to come here. And I'm like, hey, I ain't got the money. I ain't say nothing about that. Come on, I want you to come. And so, like I said, I was able to go to 5 different states. I was able to go to 2 concerts. And once again, this is during a time when I was not making enough money, but I still put God first. And when I tell you, He showed up and showed out during that summer, or it wasn't even just the summer, it was like, a period of maybe 5 or 6 months that I was not making a lot of money, and He still showed up and showed out. So I strongly encourage that you put Him first and watch what He'll do. Put your faith, put your money where your faith is. Give it to you. If the church that you don't attend, or the church that you do attend, is not a place where you feel like that they are being financially responsible, I promise you, there is another church in the area where you can sow your seed. Where you can sow your seed as well as reap the benefit, find the fruit, receive the fruit from it, fruit of your labor. So to wrap up everything that we talked about today, it's just that if you are not on the same page as far as sticking to a budget and living above your means, that can negatively affect the relationship. Even if you make $1 million a year, if you have one person or both people who are living above the means, you only make $1 million a year, but you're trying to spend $2 million a year, that can negatively affect the relationship. And once again, to think about, where is your heart? Is your heart in impressing other people, or is your heart living for the Lord? These are things to consider that can, or if you think about those things, they can positively affect your relationship, and you never know, can even positively affect your money. So in the last video, I mentioned sitting down and like looking at where you spend money and thinking about what areas can you cut out. And once again, thinking about, why do I spend the money in this area? Why do we spend this much money on groceries? Why do we spend this much money on hair care and nails and things like that? Why do we spend this much money on fun things? And you may feel like, well, duh, because it's fun, and duh, because I need to keep my hair and my nails done. But could you cut back? Are there any areas for you to cut back? And like I said, just really assessing your heart and finding ways to compromise on the budget. And I definitely pray that if you are not even at a point to where you feel like you can budget, that the Lord will come in and He will reveal areas where you can budget, and that you will just be blessed in more areas than just financially. So that's all for today. Once again, if you have not subscribed, make sure that you subscribe. This is the Relationship Refinery, formerly known as Asia Inspires. The Relationship Refinery is helping you to redefine and refine the way that you view relationships. Until next time.